The 20th of September 1900, Volume 4, Signs of the Cross to Heal Her. I continued to suffer. Even more, I felt a resentment in my interior more than ever, for I was being forbidden to die. So on coming, my adorable Jesus reproached me for my delay in obeying, while up to that moment he had seemed to tolerate me. In the meantime, I saw the confessor, and turning to him, he took his hand and said, "When you come, sign her at the place of the pain, for I will make her obey." And he disappeared. As I remained alone, I felt the pain more intensely. Then the confessor came, and finding me in suffering, he too reproached me, for I was not obeying. And as I told him what I had seen and what our Lord had said to the confessor, on hearing me, he signed the place where I was suffering, and in 2 minutes I was able to breathe and move, while before I could not do it without feeling atrocious spasms. It seems to me that obedience and those signs of the cross have bound my pain in such a way that I can no longer suffer. And here is how I have remained disillusioned in my designs. In fact, this Lady Obedience has taken so much power over me that she lets me do nothing of what I want. Even in the suffering itself, she wants to lord, and I have to remain entirely and completely under her empire. End of the reading.
The 20th of September 1913, Volume 11. The only purpose of God in everything that happens is to accomplish His will in us. I was thinking about my current state, how little or nothing I suffer, and Jesus immediately, "My daughter, everything which happens around and inside the soul, bitterness, pleasures, contrasts, deaths, privations, contentments, and other things, is nothing other than my continuous crafting in order to have my will fulfilled and accomplished in her. When I obtain this, all is done, and consequently all is peace. It seems that even suffering wants to stay away from that soul, in seeing that the divine volition is more than suffering itself, and that it replaces everything within the soul, surpassing everything. It seems that all things revere my will, and when the soul reaches this point of using everything in order to let me accomplish the crafting of my volition, once this is done, I myself prepare her for heaven." End of the reading.
The 20th of September 1915, Volume 11, New Chastisements. Every act must be tied by the fiat between the divine and the human will. Continuing in my usual state, my adorable Jesus made himself seen as he was touching and striking the creatures with chastisements in his hands. It seemed that the chastisements were spreading more. Among many things, it seemed that a conspiracy was being plotted against the Holy Church, and they were mentioning Rome. Blessed Jesus was afflicted and seemed covered by a black mantle. He told me, "My daughter, scourges make people rise again, but there will be so many that all people will be covered by sorrow and mourning. And since the creatures are my members, I am covered by a black mantle because of them." I was all dismayed, and I begged him to calm himself, and he, to relieve me, told me, "My daughter, the fiat must be the sweet tie that will bind all your acts. My will and yours will form the knot. Know that every thought, word, and act done and tied with my will be like many channels of communication opened between myself and the creature. If all your acts will be tied to my will, not one channel of divine communication will be closed between you and me." End of the reading.
The 20th of September 1922, Volume 14. The soul who lives in the divine will must be a complex of all goods, and must let love, sanctity, and glory to God come from herself. The double office. I was saying to my always lovable Jesus, "Oh, please, my love, let it be so that nothing but love, praise, reparation, and blessing toward you may come from all of my being." Now, while I was saying this, blessed Jesus came, and I saw myself all eyes. There was not a particle of my being in which one could not see an eye, and from each of them a ray of light came out, which wounded the person of our Lord. And he said to me, "My daughter, it is decorous for me and for you that nothing but love, sanctity, glory, all for me, come from you. Otherwise I would degrade my will by letting a soul live in it who is not a whole complex of all the goods with which my will overabounds. And if the soul did not have the seeds of all goods, she could not receive the goods which my will contains. And if, may this never be, she had some seed which is not good, she would be an intruder, without nobility and decorum. Therefore she herself, feeling ashamed, would go out of it, nor would she get any taste and contentment, while keeping within herself things which are extraneous to my will. This is why I marked even the drops of your blood, your bones, your heartbeats, and the marks are these eyes of light, so that nothing may come from you which is not holy and which is not directed to me." Then he carried me outside of myself, showing me how everything is in turmoil and how they are plotting more wars and revolutions. And Jesus did a great deal to dissuade them, but in seeing their obstinacy, he withdrew from them. My God, what sad times! I believe that man has never reached such an excess of perfidy, wanting the destruction of his own being. After this I was with fear that my sweet Jesus would not come, more so since I felt that my sufferings were milder and as though asleep. So I said to myself, if what I saw is true, according to the other times, in order to give course in justice, he probably will not come and will not let me share in his pains. And Jesus, coming back and seeing me very oppressed, told me, "My daughter, do not fear. Don't you remember that you occupy a double office, one of victim and the other, greater, of living in my will, to give me back the complete glory of all creation? Therefore, if you are not in one office together with me, I will keep you in the other office. At most, there might be a pause of sufferings with regard to the office of victim. Or do not fear and calm yourself." End of the reading.
The 20th of September 1926, Volume 20. One who does not do the will of God is like a celestial constellation that goes out of its place. She is like a dislocated member. For one who does the will of God, it is daylight. For one who does not, it is nighttime. Having finished writing one book and having to start another one, I felt the weight of writing, and almost embittered I sighed. And my sweet Jesus, moving in my interior, made himself seen shaking his head. And sighing, he told me, "My daughter, what is it? What is it? You don't want to write?" And I, almost trembling and seeing him sigh because of me, said, "My love, I want what you want. It is true that I feel the sacrifice of writing, but for love of you, I will do everything." And Jesus added, "My daughter, you have not comprehended well what it means to live in my will. While you were sighing, the creation and everyone, and even myself, have sighed together with you, because for those who live in it, one is the life, one the act, one the motion, one the echo. They cannot help doing the same thing together, because God is the prime motion, and since all created things have come out of a motion full of life, there is nothing that does not possess his motion, and all turn around the prime motion of their Creator. So the whole creation is in my will. Its round is incessant, rapid, orderly, and one who lives in it has her place of order in their midst, turning rapidly together with everyone without ever stopping. My daughter, that sigh of unwillingness of yours has formed its echo in everyone. And do you know what they felt? As if a constellation wanted to go out of its place, out of the order, out of its rapid round around their Creator. And on seeing this celestial constellation, as though going out of their midst, all were shaken and as though hampered in their round, but were immediately restored by your prompt adhesion, continuing their rapid round with order, magnifying their Creator who keeps them clasped to himself to make them turn around himself. What would you say if you saw a star going out from among the others and descending down below? Would you not say, it has gone out of its place, it no longer lives a communal life with the others, it is a lost star? Such is one who, living in my will, wanted to do her own. She moves away from her place. She goes down from the height of the heavens. She loses the communion of the celestial family. She gets lost away from my will. She gets lost away from light, from strength, from sanctity, from the divine likeness. She gets lost away from order, from harmony, and she loses the rapidity of the round around her Creator. Therefore, be attentive, because in the kingdom of my will there are no unwillingnesses or bitternesses, but everything is joy. There are no strains, but all is spontaneity, as if the creature wanted to do what God wants, as if she herself wanted to do it. I was frightened in hearing this from my sweet Jesus, and I comprehended the great evil of doing one's own will. And I prayed him from the heart to give me so much grace as not to let me fall into an evil so grave. But while I was doing this, my beloved good came back, but he made himself seen with almost all of his members dislocated. That gave him unspeakable pain. And throwing himself into my arms, he told me, my daughter, these dislocated members that give me so much pain are all the souls who do not do my will. By coming upon earth, I constituted myself head of the human family, and they are my members. But these members were formed, joined, bound by means of the vital humours of my will. As it flowed in them, they are placed in communication with my body, and they are strengthened, each one at its place. My will, like compassionate doctor, not only makes its vital and divine humours flow in order to form the necessary circulation between head and members, but it forms its perfect bandaging in order to keep the members bound and firm under their head. Now, since my will is missing in them, what gives the heat, the blood, the strength, and the command from the head in order to render the members operative is missing. What does the bandaging, if they are dislocated, is missing? Everything is missing. It can be said that all communications between the members and the head are broken, and they remain in my body to give me pain. It is my will alone that places the Creator and the creature, the Redeemer and the redeemed ones, the Sanctifier and the sanctified ones, in accord and in communication. Without it, it is as if creation and redemption were nothing for them, because what makes flow the life and the goods that they contain is missing. The very sacraments will serve them as condemnation, because since my will is missing in them, what breaks the veil of the sacraments so as to give them the fruit and the life they contain is missing. Therefore, my will is everything. Without it, our most beautiful works, our greatest prodigies, remain extraneous to the poor creatures, because it alone is the depository of all our works, and therefore only through it can these be given birth for creatures. Oh, if all knew what it means to do or not to do my will, they would all place themselves in accord with it in order to receive all possible and imaginable goods and the transmission of the very divine life. Then, after this, I was doing my usual acts in the supreme will, and since the day was almost dawning, I was saying, "My Jesus, my love, the day is now beginning, and in your will I want to go round through all creatures, so that in rising from their sleep, they may all rise in your will to give you the adoration of all intelligences, the love of all hearts, the rising of all their works and of all their beings into the light that this day will make shine over all generations." While I was saying this and other things, my sweet Jesus moved in my interior and told me, "My daughter, in my will there are neither days nor nights, nor dawns nor sunsets, but one is its day, always in the fullness of its light. And one who lives in it can say, 'There are no nights for me, but it is always daylight. Therefore one is my day.' And as she operates in order to do my will and to carry out her life in it, she forms as many more lights, most refulgent, within the day of her life, that render more glorious and more beautiful the day of my will in which they live. Do you know for whom day and night, dawn and sunset are formed? For one who now does my will, now her own. If she does mine, she forms the day. If she does her own, she forms the night. One who lives fully in it forms the fullness of the day. One who does not live fully in it, but does my will only with strain, forms the dawn. One who laments about what it disposes and wants to withdraw forms the sunset. And one who does not do my will at all, it is always perennial night time, the beginning of that eternal night of hell that will never end." End of the reading.
I surrender all to him, I freely give. I will ever love and trust him, in his presence daily live. I surrender all. I surrender all to thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender.
The 20th of September 1929, Volume 26. How Jesus alone has sufficient words in order to speak about the divine will. How the creature can say, "I possess everything." How the divine will forms its paradise wherever it reigns. My little intelligence keeps wandering freely within the immense sea of the divine volition, and it can just barely retain little drops of the many truths and innumerable beauties that belong to it. Oh, unreachable, lovable, and adorable will, who will ever be able to say about you the all that you are, and to narrate your long and eternal story? Neither angels nor saints will have sufficient words in order to speak about you, and much less do I, who am the tiny little ignorant one, who can only babble about a will so holy. So while my mind was wandering in the divine fiat, my lovable Jesus, making himself seen, told me, "My daughter, only your Jesus can have sufficient words in order to speak to you about my eternal volition, because by divine nature I am the will itself. But I must limit myself in speaking, because your little capacity cannot embrace and comprehend and enclose all that belongs to it, and I have to content myself with making known to you little drops of it, because your created mind cannot contain its immense and uncreated sea. And these little drops I change into words in order to adapt myself to your little capacity and to make you comprehend something about my indescribable and immeasurable fiat. It is enough to say that my divine will is everything, encloses everything. If even just a comma of all that exists in heaven and on earth were missing in it, it could not be called the all. Therefore, in order to enter into my fiat, the creature must empty herself of everything, reduce herself to that point as when her Creator, calling her from nothing, gave her existence, to the way in which the creative power of my divine will created her, beautiful, empty of everything, and filled only with the life of He who had created her. In the same way, as the soul lets herself be invested again by the creative power of my fiat, its light and its heat will empty her and will make her again beautiful, just as when she came out of nothing, and will admit her to live in the all of my will. And in it the creature will breathe the all. She will feel herself all sanctity, all love, all beauty, because the all of my divine fiat will keep her within its sea, in which the all will be at her disposal. Nothing will be given to her by half or in little proportions, because one who is the all is able to give all of himself, not by measure, and only in my will can the creature say, I possess everything, even more, the all is mine. On the other hand, one who does not live in my divine will, since her being is not under the empire of a creative power, cannot possess all the fullness of a divine life, nor will she feel herself all filled to the brim of her soul with light, with sanctity, with love, to the point of overflowing outside and forming seas around her, to the extent of feeling that everything is hers. At the most she may feel little divine particles, the impression of grace, of love, of sanctity, but not everything. And so this is why only one who lives in my fiat is the only fortunate one to be preserved in the prodigy of her creation and to have the rights to possess and to live in the abundance of the goods of her Creator. After this I continued my acts in the divine will, and my adorable Jesus added, My daughter, one who lives in my fiat will have the great good of possessing a divine will on earth that will be for her the bearer of imperturbable peace, of immutable firmness. My fiat will raise her in a divine manner. In each act she does, it will give her a sip of our divine being, so that there might be no quality of ours that is not centralized in this creature. Not only this, but my volition will delight in enclosing in her my divine will, bearer of happiness, with which it makes all the blessed happy, so that not even this may be missing in one who lives in it, in such a way that when she comes into our celestial fatherland, she will bring her paradise of joy and of happiness all divine, as the triumph of her having lived in our fiat. And while she comes to find yet more surprising beatitudes, because my will is never exhausted and has always something to give, the creature will find her own joys and the happiness that my will enclosed in her when she was on earth. Therefore, rise evermore in it, expand your boundaries, because the more of divine will you take on earth, the more our life will grow in you, and the more happiness and joys you will enclose in your soul, And the more of them you'll bring, the more you will be given in heaven, in our celestial fatherland. May everything be for the glory of God and the fulfillment of his most holy will. End of the reading.
The 20th of September, 1930, volume 28. Bitternesses, the slow poison of good. The divine will, cradle of the soul. Jesus, divine administrator of his most holy will. I was feeling all immersed in the divine fiat. Its light dazzles my intellect, and while it absorbs me into its light, it makes me follow its acts that it did in creation. But while I was doing this, I felt such bitterness and oppression as to make me struggle in doing my acts in the divine will. My sweet Jesus, having compassion for me, told me, "My daughter, how much pity I feel for your bitterness. I feel it being poured into my heart. Therefore, courage. Don't you know that oppressions, bitternesses are the slow poison of good that produces such hardship as to reduce the soul to an extreme agony, in such a way that she feels agony in the heart, and my love agonizes in her heart. She feels agony on the lips, and my prayer agonizes. She feels agony in the hands, in the steps, and my steps and my works feel themselves agonizing. More so since, in the creature who wants to have my divine will as life, my will being one with hers, I feel her agony poured into my divine person. Therefore, courage, abandon yourself into my arms, and I will make more light, more refulgent, arise from my divine will. And as it takes the form of cradle, I will rock you in it to communicate to you my divine rest. And with its light and with its heat, it will destroy the slow poison of your bitternesses, changing them into sweetnesses and into fount of contentments. And resting in the cradle of my divine will, you will take sweet rest. And upon waking up, you will find that bitternesses and oppressions have been cast away from you, and I will keep you in my arms with your usual sweetness and serenity to make the life of my divine will grow more in you." Then I continued as much as I could my abandonment in the divine fiat, and my sweet Jesus added, "My daughter, bitternesses, oppressions, and everything that does not regard my will occupy space in your soul, and my divine will does not feel free to be able to extend its light, and with its creative and vivifying virtue makes its life arise in each particle and receptacle of your soul. It feels encircled as though by clouds, such that even though the sun is there, the clouds, putting themselves between the sun and the earth, prevent the solar rays from descending with the fullness of light to give light to the earth. The same for the sun of my divine will. It feels hindered by the clouds of bitternesses and oppressions from extending its light in the depth of the creature, also in the little receptacles, and being able to say, everything gives of my will, everything belongs to me, everything is mine. And I, your Jesus, who has taken on the commitment to form a soul, all of my will, suffer and remain hindered in my crafting. In fact, you must know that I am the divine administrator of my fiat in the creature. And when I see her disposed to do my will in everything, in each act she does, I set to the work of preparation. Suppose that you want to do an act of love. Immediately I get down to work. I place it in my breath. I lay a dose of my love. I embellish it with the variety of the beauty it contains. And then, divine administrator of my will as I am, I administer my divine will upon that act of love in such a way that in that act one no longer recognizes the act of the creature, but an act of love as if it had come out from the center of my divinity, I am too jealous of the acts that the creature wants to do as animated by my divine will. I do not admit any disparity between her acts and mine. And in order to have this, I must place of my own and my work, and this in all of her acts. If she wants to do acts of adoration, of prayers, of sacrifice, I place in them my work, so that her adoration may be the echo of the divine adoration. Her prayer may be the echo of mine. Her sacrifice may be the repeater of mine. In sum, I must find myself in each act of the creature. I, your Jesus, as the owner, possessor of my divine will, would not administrate it if I did not find the sanctity, the purity, the love of my humanity in the act of the creature. Therefore, I want to find her clear of any clouds that might shadow my divine will. Therefore, be attentive, my daughter. Do not hinder my work that I want to do in your soul. End of the reading.
The 20th of September, 1937, Volume 35. How the divine will never stops and seals with its eternal love all the works of the creatures. Exchange of imitation and of life between the Creator and the creature. My flight continues in the divine fiat, and oh, how happy it is in keeping its creature on its lap, in being always together and in working always together. The company of the creature makes it even more happy than it is, because it finds in her one who watches it and loves it, one who would like to match it in being all its own, in the same way as the divine volition is of the creature. If it loves, it finds one who loves it. If it works, it finds one who receives these works. If it is offended, it finds one who defends it, and many times makes it turn its justice into graces. Therefore it uses all its stratagems of love with her. But while my mind was getting lost in the divine volition, my sweet Jesus, visiting my little soul, all love, told me, my blessed daughter, the love of my will never stops. It is always looking for new devices, new inventions of love, even to the extent of locking the one who lives in it inside the intimate hiding places of its loving secrets. It shows to her its intimate creation of ever new and increasing love, in which it keeps the blessed and the pilgrim souls as if within one single breath of love. It reveals to her new arcane and celestial secrets of our divinity, giving her more news on how she can reach its loving power and the prodigies of this power for those who live in it, provided that it finds them in its will. My will gets the taste for telling ever new things to this creature, giving her new surprises of love. And even more, listen to what it does. It makes itself small within her, though still remaining immense. And it loves and says, the creature loves me the way I love her. Since nothing other than love can enter us, this will of mine, as if shrunk inside the creature, turns everything she does into love. If she prays, adores, or works, it melts everything into love. And with the power all divine, my own will leads these acts of the creature into the womb of our divinity, so that they take their place inside our love. We look at these acts of ours, and we hear in them the eternal prayer of our love, our adoration, all of love, our eternal works of love, and oh, how we remain glorified and delighted, because the creature can say, my prayer, my adoration, and my acts are eternal. They are invested with your eternal love. They have been made so by your divine will. So I love you as you love me. This is precisely our folly, a delirium of love. We want to operate and love within the creature as we operate and love within ourselves. But only our reigning and operating will inside her can reach such an extent. In fact, if we lower ourselves, it is not to lose our divine being in what is limited. Rather, it is to elevate the creature to infinity and to give her of ourselves, sealing her small acts, even her breathing and her motion, with our eternal love. So we feel within her our eternal breathing of love and our motion, which does not move without unleashing love. Therefore the whole of creation was nothing other than an outpouring of love. We wanted to get acquainted with our works and with the creatures that we gave to light, so we would love each other with one single love. My daughter, what a suffering, not having been understood by the creatures. Because of this we cannot receive the good of telling them who we are, to make ourselves known, and how we are nothing other than love. We want to give love, to receive love. Oh, how I wish that everybody knew this. Jesus remained silent, drowned inside his flames of love. Then, as if he still felt the need to pour out more, to fire the whole world with his love, sighing, he added, "Listen, my daughter, to another greater surprise of our intense love and to the extent of our delirium of love. Our Supreme Being loves the creature so much that we even reach the excess of imitating her. We make ourselves tiny, enclosing ourselves within her. We want to walk with her feet, work with her hands, speak with her mouth, look with her eyes, think with her intelligence, and palpitate and love inside her heart. In order to do all that the creature does and the way she does it, we want to have feet, hands, mouth, eyes, and heart like the creature. And we ask this of her, as if we were not the absolute owners. We say to her, let's love each other. We give you of ourselves and you give us of yours. In fact, our Supreme Being, the most pure Spirit, is step without foot. Without walking, he is everywhere. He does everything. He operates everything without needing hands. He is word without mouth. He is light, and he can see all without eyes. But since we love her very much, we like to imitate her. This is an immense device of our love that only a God can do. Instead of saying to the creature, you must imitate us, you must do as we do, we say, we want to imitate you and do as you do. In the end, she is our creature, the work of our creative hands. She came out of ourselves, from within the power of our creative love. So it's no wonder that we want to descend within her, to imitate her and do what she does, the way she does it. It is nothing other than giving honour to ourselves and greater importance to our works. But we can do this only in the creature within whom our will reigns. In her we can do all, pour out our love, imitate each other, since she is completely disposed to do what we want. On the other hand, where our will does not reign, we can say that we can do nothing. Now listen to another surprise of love that is nearly unbelievable. Once the creature has given us the freedom to imitate her, giving us life within herself, feet, hands, and mouth, we call her our imitation. And as we let her enter into our divine being, the power of our fiat gives her its step without foot, letting her be everywhere, in the angels, in the saints, in the celestial queen, even in our divine womb. Oh, how happy we are in seeing her no longer surrounded by the human nature, but free together with us, working without hands and speaking without mouth, and oh, how many words. With our words she tells us the long story of our love and of our operating fiat. She feels our eternal wisdom being poured into herself. Oh, how many things she tells us about our divine being. And she talks and talks. And oh, how we delight in hearing the creature narrating what we are. Taken by our own flames of love, she even feels the need to love us without a heart, because her heart has its limits, while our love without heart has no limits. It is immense. So the creature gets rid of the heart and loves inside our infinite love. See, my daughter, could it ever be possible to give surprises of love more beautiful than these? To feel the pleasure, the taste of imitating her, doing all that she does as a pretext of love, to call her to imitate us and make her do what we do. The abysses of our love are so many, and what's more, they always keep searching for new devices of love. Well, I cannot say what I felt inside my mind. The immensity of light, the turning into words spoke of many love devices of my Creator. Then my sweet Jesus added, "My daughter, keep listening. Our love is such that it seems to give us no peace if we don't make new inventions of love in order to love and be loved. If we didn't do so, we would condemn ourselves to sloth. This cannot be in our Supreme Being, because we are a continuous act of ever-burning love and of endless works. Our wisdom is such that it always does new things. We enclose ourselves in the soul, within whom our will reigns, and largely we pour out our love. We centralize all that we've done, all that we do and will do, repeating in the soul our most beautiful works, the outpouring of our love, and the new inventions of our wisdom. So many that the creature cannot count them. Oh, how many touching scenes we make. She becomes the theatre of our love, the deposit of our unceasing works, the refuge for our delights, joys, and happiness, the hiding place for our celestial and arcane secrets, the display of our various beauties. Do you know why? To enjoy them together, since nothing can be missing of our works where our will reigns. The creature encircles us inside her soul, and she lets us do what we do within ourselves. All this because we want her to know who we are, what we can do and how we love. And to give her a more certain proof, we give her our love. We let her love as we do, so that she might touch with her hands how a God can love. Then to delight with her, we make her do what we do together with us. Don't be surprised. This is the nature of our will and of true love, to unify the creature with us, to love her and make her love us as we do. Disparities must not exist. Otherwise, it would make the creature unhappy to see that we love her so much and she cannot, that we know how to do many things and she can do nothing, poor child. She would be in our divine being under the weight of a profound humiliation, like a stranger with no trust, like a poor one before a rich. We just cannot do this. If she is with us, all that is ours must be hers too. To live in our fiat is unity, common works and joys. This is what makes us more happy and gives us a large field for the outpouring of our love. End of the reading. No more readings today. Have a blessed day.